The Japanese are not happy with Ubisoft and their upcoming game, Assassin's Creed Shadows. A petition has been created calling for Ubisoft to immediately discontinue the creation of the game. And now we have a report from a Japanese YouTuber explaining why so many Japanese people are not happy with Assassin's Creed Shadows. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they are butchering Japanese history and are doing it intentionally so. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Let's hit that like button. Let's get more people to watch this video as well. Beat that YouTube algorithm. I wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com, and we've kind of been covering this for a little bit now. There has been a petition that has been launched by Japanese players calling on Ubisoft to shut the game down, specifically the game being Assassin's Creed Shadows. And they've also accused Ubisoft of insulting Japanese culture and history, which they claim can lead to racism in Asia. So this is what the petition reads, as translated by Google's machine translation. The petition was created by a user named Shimuzu Toru. And it says this: recently, lack of historical accuracy and cultural respect has been a serious problem for game developer Ubisoft, which is scheduled to release Assassin's Creed Shadows. The game is based on the samurai of Japan, ignoring the fact that the samurai is the upper class of the samurai class and should be my family or a person who serves you. In fact, William Adams and Miura Prodor, the first European to receive the title of samurai, was the one who served Tokugawa Ieyasu as the flag book for 250 stoning. I'm not sure exactly what they're referring to there. Probably has to do with like the year that he was serving, maybe. In such history, Ubisoft continues to misunderstand the essence and role of samurai. This is a serious insult to Japanese culture and history and can lead to racism in Asia. It then calls on Ubisoft to stop developing the game. We call on Ubisoft to immediately discontinue the launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows and show sincere research and respect for Japanese history and culture. As of writing, the petition has received over 89,000 signatures. So it continues to grow by the day. So we got this video here from Shohei Kondo, I think is his name. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And he explains why Japanese players are signing the petition and are taking issue with the game. If you want to watch his full video, I will have the link to this article in the description below so you can easily find it. But he first points to the fact that Ubisoft is promoting the game as historical, and he points to an interview that game director Charles Benoit conducted with Xbox Wire admitting this. And this is what Xbox Wire asked him was, this is a familiar setting for gamers. How does this game differentiate its take on the setting? And Benoit responded saying this: we're at the end of Sengoku era in a turning point of Japan history. Assassin's Creed is well known for its depiction of the history and accurate recreation of the world, and it's what players can expect with Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're showing real historical figures such as Oda Nobunaga and a lot of events that happened during that time. So you're not only playing in feudal Japan, but learning about this fantastic time period. So they are admitting that they are trying to convey real history through the game, that players will learn about this fantastic time period. That is what the game director, Assassin's Creed Shadows game director, admitted in an interview with Xbox Wire. And this is something that does not sit well with Japanese players, as Shohei Kondo points out. And he is not happy with this. He goes on and lists off a number of reasons why he and other Japanese gamers are opposing the game. He says, we are protesting marketing DEIs, historical distortion stemming from their disregard for Asians and their arrogance, and discriminatory responses to protests from Japan. From there, he focuses his video on what he describes as the biggest attempt to distort Japanese history, that is the legendary samurai. And he says they claim Yasuke. So he's talking about obviously describing Yasuke as this legendary samurai, making him the main playable character or one of the two main playable characters in the game. And he goes on and brings up a number of historical documents that mention Yasuke. He uses an AI translation device to read the documents. And the first document, which I couldn't make out the samurai's name, but it is a diary from a samurai at the time of the Sengoku era. And this samurai said this, according to the AI translation. He was taken under the care of Nobunaga, they're referring to Yasuke, and given the name Yasuke. He was granted a residence and given personal items. From time to time, he was also entrusted with Nobunaga's tools and belongings, carrying them for him. So no mention that he is a samurai or even a warrior in that entry. He then pulled up a second historical document called the Chronicles of Lord Nobunaga. An AI translates this one as well. And it says, Lord Nobunaga provided support to a black man who was presented to him by missionaries. His skin was as black as ink, and he was about 1.82 meters tall. His name was Yasuke. So again, no mention that he was a samurai or even any kind of warrior. Shoei goes on and says that this document indicates that Yasuke was given something, but it's unclear what exactly it is, as it can be translated a number of different ways, including a place to live, a short sword, or rice. I know a number of people have tried to claim that because he has been given this short sword, that indeed makes him some kind of samurai warrior. I don't think that is the case at all, given what little knowledge I know of samurai culture and what a samurai is. Nevertheless, he then goes and shares a third document. This one is titled the Jesuit Annual Reports of Japan. Again, an AI translates. On the Monday following Easter, Nobunaga was in the capital. A commotion arose as many people wanted to see the black slave, leading to injuries and near fatalities from thrown stones. Observers speculated that showcasing the black slave for a fee could easily raise significant funds. Nobunaga invited him to his presence, causing quite a stir, and confirmed his skin color was natural. Nobunaga's sons were also pleased, and Nobunaga's nephew, the commander in Osaka, rewarded him with 10 kamen. I think that translates to around $1,200. The priest accompanied a black slave, and since no one in the capital had ever seen a black slave before, countless people came to see him. Nobunaga himself was amazed, confirming that his skin color was natural and not painted, and stared at him. The man understood some Japanese, so Nobunaga talked with him endlessly. Impressed by his strength and some art skills, Nobunaga was very pleased, decided to protect him, and assigned guards to escort him around the city. Some rumored that Nobunaga would make him a lord. The black slave given to Nobunaga by the visitor went to the residence of Nobunaga's heir after Nobunaga's death and fought for quite a long time. So this is the mention of where he's actually, I guess, at least fighting, or it's saying that he did indeed fight. Doesn't say that he's a samurai. An Akechi retainer approached him and told him to surrender his sword without fear, so he handed it over. When the retainer asked Mitsuhide how to handle Yasuke, Mitsuhide replied, the black slave is like an animal and knows nothing, and since he is not Japanese, do not kill him. Instead, he ordered place him in the church of the Indian Padre. So he clearly surrenders, and then it sounds like he is returned back to one of the Jesuit priests, according to that document. So those are the three documents that mention Yasuke. He says these are kind of basically the only documents that mention him. Again, no mention that he's actually a samurai. No mention that he is a legendary samurai. Definitely not a legendary samurai. And Shohei Kondo says this. He says, there is no document saying Yasuke was a samurai. There's no document. He then shared a translation of another Japanese YouTuber explaining that the idea that Yasuke was a samurai came from Wikipedia edits. This YouTuber that he translates specifically points to a Wikipedia edit done on Yasuke's page on June 14, 2013 to claim that he was made a Bushido warrior and kept close by Nobunaga. This change, the YouTuber alleges, convinced many that Yasuke was a samurai. So I actually went back, did some looking, didn't include this in this article, but if you go back to the very first Wikipedia entry, you go through the history, and maybe they can edit that stuff without it showing up. I'm not really exactly sure how a lot of that stuff works, but you go back to 2005 in the English version of Wikipedia, it does indeed describe him as a samurai. That's the first entry back in 2005, and it does say that he is a samurai even back then. So I'm not sure if what this YouTuber is referring to is a Japanese edit, and maybe the Japanese Wikipedia is different than the Wikipedia shown in English and in the United States of America. So I'm not sure. I couldn't duplicate what this person was saying here. And I also didn't see an edit on June 14th. There was like an edit on like June 13th. And I think there was a couple edits on June 15th. But again, like I said, even if you go back to 2005, it describes him as a samurai. So even back then in English, they were not accurately describing Yasuke, describing him as a samurai, when it appears, based on these historical documents that we just went over, that he was indeed not a samurai. So that video then goes on to note that Thomas Lockley, an associate professor at Nihon University College of Law in Tokyo, published a book titled Nobunaga and Yasuke in 2017. He then published a book titled Yasuke, The True Story of the Legendary African Samurai in 2019, which is actually a novel, and the YouTuber describes it as fiction. And he makes this observation. He says, given there's only about 2 or 3 pages of historical documentation of Yasuke, the Japanese YouTuber notes that Lockley had to have exaggerated in order to fill the pages of this 400-page book that was published in 2019. The YouTuber also notes this book helped convince non-Japanese readers that Yasuke was a samurai when he is not. From there, Kondo pointed to another interview Ubisoft executives gave to Famitsu. We have this here from the Oron Burner account on X, which this is an interview or with like a ton of the people involved in this video game. Specifically, these comments here were made by Assassin's Creed Shadows creative director Jonathan Dumont. And he said, we were first looking for our samurai, someone who could be our non-Japanese eyes, though this is because from the beginning of the story of the Portuguese arrival would be a very good way to tell the crisis in Japan. So obviously there's a little bit of a translation thing there, but it sounds like they wanted a non-Japanese character to be the main character to tell this story set in Japan. And they've talked about this in other interviews where they wanted to have him connected to the Portuguese, yada, 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 etc. like that, which I don't think you actually need a non-Japanese person to do all that stuff. I think you could indeed have a male Japanese actual samurai be connected to all of these things. It's not that hard to do. I think it would be very easy to do all of that stuff rather than actually having Yasuke be this main character in the game set in Japan. And Kondo reacted to this. He says he thinks Japanese samurai is not samurai. It's not. You're samurai. As I mentioned in previous video, when we protest about it and then their response is basically, shut up, you're racist. This is really the great example of how the marketing DI is actually destroying minority culture. Destroying. This should be stopped. Really, this should be stopped, he added. He then encouraged other Japanese YouTubers to make videos calling out Ubisoft and noted, otherwise our history is going to be destroyed by this fake agenda. So those are the reasons why a lot of Japanese players are unhappy with Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think it is very similar to the reasons why a lot of people here in the West are unhappy as well, that they are claiming that this is somehow a historically accurate game when indeed it is not, that Yasuke is not actually a samurai. The fact that they decided to make one of the main characters in this game non-Japanese, despite it being set in Japan, is a massive change from how other Assassin's Creed games have operated. You can look all the way back to the first game. You've got an Arab in that game. The second game is Ezio, and he's an Italian. It's set in Italy. In the third game, you've got a mixed character. I can't remember his name right now, but he's a British and Native American, and it's set in colonial America. The fourth one is Assassin's Creed 4. Black Flag is Edward Kenway. It is set in the Caribbean, and you're a British pirate. So usually when you have an Assassin's Creed game, the character that you play is usually from the location that you're playing in. You can look at Origins, you can look at Odyssey, you can look at Valhalla. They all follow that pattern except for this one here, set in Japan. And I'm sure people will be like, well, are you just discounting Naui? No, obviously she is there, but I can point to what is the one, Unity or whatever, the one that's set in London. They're both two people from England, from the United Kingdom. I guess obviously, yeah, I think they're from London. I think they're from London, but they're clearly there from the British Isles, right? You didn't have one being from like France and the other one being from Norway or something like that. They are locals. So that is a huge problem. And it's refreshing to see that the Japanese are not putting up with this. They are sick and tired of this. They are actively working to ensure that Ubisoft is unable to change their history of the Japanese samurai and of Yasuke. And they're encouraging others to do the same, to not let history be changed by people at Ubisoft who have a woke DEI agenda. And I applaud him for doing this. I hope more and more people do it. I echo what he recommends here as well, not just other Japanese gamers, but just gamers in general. Point this out and call Ubisoft out for what they are doing. But those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.